Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you like this video, that it gives you lots of helpful advice. And if it does, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel for more content. As always, please follow me on Instagram, where you can just kind of follow more day-to-day life. But the baby is sleeping, so without further ado, let's get into it before he wakes up. So if you clicked on this video, you probably are looking to increase your milk supply, meaning you most likely are having trouble breastfeeding. So first and foremost, I want to just say, especially if you're a first-time mom, that breastfeeding is like literally one of the hardest parts of motherhood, and like without fail. Maybe you are one of the lucky ones that were like super natural at it, but if you were, you wouldn't be watching this video. So I just want to kind of start with that and let you know that you are not alone, that breastfeeding is difficult for most women and there is nothing wrong with you. Sometimes it just really does take a lot of work. So with that being said, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a backstory about my breastfeeding journey with my newest addition, Emmett. He was born April 11th, 2023. When this video comes out, he will be 3 months. So we have been 3 months exclusively breastfeeding, which I'm super, super proud of. But it was not easy. And there was definitely many times that I wanted to give up, that I felt like a failure. I had to have an emergency C-section, and then breastfeeding was really difficult. So there was definitely a time there that I just felt like my body was failing me, and it was really, really, really hard emotionally. So again, if that is you, please know that it does get better. It does get easier. Sometimes it really just does take work. And I know if you're here watching this video, then obviously you're willing to do what it takes to keep going. And if you're supplementing or whatever, fed is best. And I hope that you're doing whatever you need to do, number one, for your baby, but number two, for yourself and for your mental health. That always has to be number one. A happy mom and a sane mom is going to be the best mom, and whatever that means for you is what you should do. So again, just wanted to say all of these things. But anyways, so breastfeeding initially started really well. He is my third baby. So I had done this before, but I had never exclusively breastfed my other two. They were always supplemented with formula for various reasons. And eventually, like I think I would say after, 2 months, probably predominantly formula fed. So this time around, I was really, really, really dead set on breastfeeding. And initially, and when I say initially, I mean like the first week, it was going really well. He was latching really well. I wasn't really experiencing, any pain or engorgement or anything like that. So, I thought, oh, wow, like this is so awesome. Like it's just happening naturally, and, all of these things. And then we went to his checkup. Well, as you do, I had a midwife, so I'm not sure, and I live in Canada, so I'm not sure, this may differ from place to place and from care provider to care provider, but we were going, like, we saw them on 24 hours, 48 hours, like it was quite a few times within the first few weeks we saw our care provider. So by the end of week 1, he still was not gaining a whole lot of weight, which was discouraging. He did have like one kind of jump when my milk came in, which was really good. And again, we thought everything was okay. But then after that, he literally like stopped gaining weight. Like there was a period, I want to say like of 2 weeks, where he literally did not gain any weight at all. So it was very, very, very discouraging. I was so emotional. You're in that like kind of baby blues phase where just everything makes you cry, I know. So I was very, very, very emotional. I was heartbroken. I couldn't understand why he wasn't gaining weight. I was literally doing everything that I could. My midwife had told me that it was a supply issue, that I just wasn't producing enough. And obviously, like, that's just heartbreaking. Again, I kind of felt like my body was just failing me, like after the C-section. And, you know, so it was a very, very, very difficult time. And I really, and I'm saying this because this is my own personal feelings, because again, I was just really dead set on breastfeeding. And with my past experiences with supplementation in the past with my other two children, I knew how quickly that supplementation could become solely formula feeding. So I really did not want to supplement with formula. But obviously I knew that doing what was best for my baby was going to be what I was going to do ultimately. But anyways, so we did end up having to supplement, but we were supplementing as like a top up, not as a full feed. So at the end of the day, I tried everything under the sun, and I finally did get my supply up to a good place where he was gaining weight. He's still gaining weight. We're still exclusively breastfeeding. But I just kind of wanted to give you that backstory, to let you know that it does get better. You are not alone. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you that backstory so you know where I'm coming from. So, you know, when I say I tried everything, I really did try everything. But anyways, so if you are looking to increase your milk supply, I'm going to drop a bomb here. So be ready for it. This is something that you haven't heard in any other video that you've watched. I guarantee it. If you want to increase your milk supply, truly the only thing that actually worked for me, and I'd be willing to bet that it would work for most people, was not anything that can be bought on Amazon. It was actually just milk removal. That is, you know, number one. I'm sure everyone hears that. So like pumping or feeding every 2 hours, I know I know how hard that can be, especially like my husband went back to work. So trying to feed, and then afterwards having a baby who is awake, trying to pump after that is really difficult. So that was hard. So I wasn't always like super consistent with that, just because again, like logistically speaking, it was difficult to be able to do so. But I was power pumping as often as I could. So I was trying to do it at least twice a day. Once when he went down for his long nap, and then once at night. And I would do that, I wouldn't say all the time, but I would do that at least for a few days until my milk would get back up. And then I would kind of stop because I wasn't always super effective on a pump. So I was really just using it to have stimulation on the breast. But this is my biggest tip, and I swear to you, this is what is going to help you. I'll tell you afterwards everything that I tried as well. But what has sustained consistently my milk supply through these, you know, I would say last 2 months after we stopped having issues breastfeeding, was eating enough protein, drinking enough water, and also having enough carbohydrates. And I know that you're like, okay, like whatever. If you know me or you follow me or anything like that, you know that I have kind of like a fitness journey. I've always that's my realm kind of thing. So I do track my food. I also am actively trying to lose weight right now. So that is another reason why I'm tracking my food. But 100% the biggest increase that I noticed, and the biggest sustainability, which is really what you're looking for, is to be able to sustain your milk supply, not necessarily just get it up. You want something that is going to give you longevity, right? And eating enough protein. So I would recommend, I eat about 150 grams of protein a day, and about 210 grams of carbs. And I know that can seem like a lot of protein, but you should do, I would definitely recommend like finding a macro calculator. If you don't know what your macros are, it's basically a a ratio of protein, carbs, and fats that kind of make up your calorie content, but it's like specific ratios of each of those things. So I know if you literally just calculate or go on Google, you can find like what's it called, like a macro calculator. I'll actually link one in the description. It's the one by Katie Hearn, where you can specifically put in that you're breastfeeding, and that will give you a breakdown of your macros and what you should be eating. So that hugely helped me so much, was eating, and not, people say eating enough, and I know that like obviously eating enough, you should be eating enough calories, but specifically eating enough protein is one of the main components of breast milk. So if you're not getting enough protein, you could be eating enough calories, but you're not getting enough protein to make good quality milk. So again, like biggest tip that I could give you. Now, foods that have actually helped me. So again, like just make sure that you're eating enough protein, enough carbs, you're doing all of those things. So start there, but I'm going to give you a little bit extra. So I was doing a brewer's yeast supplement, which was working. But I didn't notice like a huge increase in that. I was having baby boons, so lactation cookies, lactation bars, literally everything under the sun that you could think to try for your breast milk supply. I was trying it. I was also taking a supplement with fenugreek in it at the beginning, and in retrospect, looking back, I wish that I hadn't have done that, because I actually think that the fenugreek was decreasing my supply, and I was taking that like kind of right from the get-go after giving birth. So I really think that that was one of the reasons why I was having issues with my supply to begin with, was the fenugreek. And if you're doing research on fenugreek, you can definitely see that it works wonders for some women, but for some women it has the opposite effect, and I was definitely one of those women. So in retrospect, again, I really wish that I hadn't have done that, but nonetheless, so I was doing all of that. Foods that actually did help, so oatmeal, I still eat oatmeal every day, and I drink lots of oat milk. So in my coffee, I put oat milk. I put oat milk in my smoothies. That's all I drink is oat milk. So oats, I actually do think, like, I don't know, maybe it's not increasing my supply necessarily, but I do think that it's one of the foods that is helping me sustain a good supply. And I will say too that I am, even with all of these things and all these things that I'm saying, I'm still a just enougher, which means that I don't pump anymore. So maybe I'm not a just enougher, but I'm certainly not like engorged and spewing milk all over the place. I'm not like an overproducer or anything like that. I have what my baby needs, and that's fine. So if you're looking to be an overproducer, maybe this is not the best advice for you. I'm not sure how to gain more of a supply in that regard. But I certainly was able to get my supply to a place that I was able to feed my baby without supplementing on a regular basis. And that was my goal. So if that is your goal, then this is the advice for you. But yeah, oatmeal, I still eat oatmeal every day and have oat milk in my coffee and smoothies and that kind of thing. I probably drink maybe a cup to 2 cups of oat milk a day. Also, greens have super milk powers. If you are looking at like foods to increase your milk supply, spinach and greens are definitely on the top of that list. So I take a greens supplement. And I also try to eat a lot of greens. So I put spinach in my smoothie, or try to eat lots of like dark leafy green salads. And I definitely feel like that has helped as well. But mainly 100%, the biggest difference that I ever noticed was when I started watching what I was eating. And I don't mean like in that diet mentality, but making sure that I was getting enough protein, and making sure that I was getting enough carbohydrates. And I can tell you, my body is so finicky, okay? So like even pre-pregnancy, and not breastfeeding, anything like that. Like even to, you know, like in the past when I've been, you know, dieting or anything like that, like my body is so like, it needs that perfect, you know, je ne sais quoi. It is very, very, very finicky. And I will tell you that if one day I don't get enough protein, or enough carbohydrates, 100% I can see my supply dip. Absolutely, no question. And because I've been working out again, like I've started incorporating exercise back into my routine and stuff, it's definitely a lot more important now more than ever, because again, I'm expending more calories through exercise, and when I'm doing that and I'm not eating enough, my milk supply does dip. So yes, I have got it to a consistent spot, but I'm still doing all of these things on a regular basis to maintain that consistency, because if I don't, then my milk supply drops, like, and I'm talking day to day, like not even over time. So when I tell you that this is what worked for me, my body is so like, it needs that perfect, you know, that perfect trio of things, right? But anyways, I really hope that this video was helpful for you, and I really hope that, again, if you're in that place where you're struggling and you're feeling really down, you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money on supplements and foods that you don't normally eat and all that kind of stuff. You can really do this or follow this advice doing what you're kind of already doing. And like I said, I will link that calculator below if you want to use it to see how much protein intake you should be having. But definitely, like tracking your food and making sure that you're getting enough of those two things is so, so, so important. And in combination, if you're trying to get yourself up to a sustainable point, I would definitely recommend like power pumping or milk removal every 2 hours, to get you up to that sustainability point. And then once you're at the sustainability point, then you can kind of lay back on the pumping, or feeding. But I don't know about you, my baby still eats every 2 hours, so that's not necessarily a huge issue for me. But definitely while you're trying to build it up, I would recommend power pumping as well. But yeah, just making sure that you're eating good food, you know, making sure that you're eating enough, making sure that you're hitting those protein goals. Like they say, like protein is the building block to, you know, muscles. Protein is also the building block to breast milk. So make sure that you're getting enough. Again, I really hope that this was helpful for you. Please let me know below if it was helpful for you, or if you took anything from this video. I would really love to hear from you. It's not easy going through this, and it can feel really alone sometimes, especially when you see all these people who are like overproducers and like, oh, I need like 1,000 ounces in an hour, you know? It can be really hard to watch that when you're struggling to just feed your baby. So I get that. I feel you. I'm here for you. I really hope that this advice helps you. And other than that, again, please like and subscribe and follow me along on Instagram. I do a lot more like day-to-day stuff there, and I would love to interact with you there as well. And yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I love you guys all so much.